the Eddy was a black sheep, a blight in people's minds.
Little did we know that it was going to be a 22-year legacy of being one of the greatest blues rooms in the world.
Everybody was there. It was the place to be. And why was it so popular, the music?
You thought of the Eddy, you thought of going to have fun. Exactly what it was. Good music and fun. Nice chicken wings, too.
When the word of Wrecking Ball came into the vocabulary, the Calgarians just wouldn't accept it.
There's something to be said in saving your character. It's who you are. It's part of what you are, right? Good or bad. You should save your warts too, right?
It was the little guy fighting City Hall and not only coming out on top, but being congratulated and celebrated by what came out of it.
Well, when the King Eddy first opened, it was along the CPR tracks, which was the entrance into the city, really from the east. It's how migrants, travelers, workers came into the city and left the city. So 9th Avenue was affectionately known as Whiskey Row, but it was also known as Hotel Row. There were many hotels along 9th Avenue. It was almost Calgary's doorstep for new visitors, and in some cases, people that were trying to make a new life here. The King Eddy Hotel, and particularly the bar, was the first hotel in Calgary to desegregate the users. So in other words, it was the first hotel that affectionately welcomed African Canadians, African Americans, and actually publicized that in the 1950s.
In the 1970s, when it was a rock, kind of a country rock room, there were some local bands, local country bands and bluegrass bands that played.
So before I got involved, the music that was played in the bar was country western, and so that had to go immediately. So I bought the hotel in 1982. I've visited the King Eddy several times, and I was convinced this is the place. So I brought my wife one afternoon, and we walked in, and there was this fight going on. Cues were used as weapons. It was too gory to describe. And she turned right around and she says, "You are nuts." And there's no way I'm gonna agree to any of that. And she left. And in time, I talked her into it.
It became the King Eddy, home of the blues. That's what happened. Everybody still came around, but other people started coming too because of the music. There was so much good music that Jack was bringing in. It was just amazing.
At first, when I called the agencies to book bands, it was very cold response, like, "Who the hell are you?" kind of thing. And we want monies up front. So I had to get a line of credit at the bank and trust that the funds that I'm wiring, the band is actually going to show up.
Oh yeah, Feel the Blues coming out.
Just the fact that it was a 6-night-a-week gig made it attractive. That was enough of a draw for these artists to say, let's drive up there and check it out anyway, and see if we can link some other dates around it. So when they finally get up here, they discovered that the room was friendly, that the audiences were fantastic, that the room sounded great. It was their kind of vibe, their kind of place. So they would say, "Sure, we'll come back."
It introduced me to the Canadian audiences, and it was beautiful. You've been gone so long, baby. There's different sorts of blues. I think the Eddy, we used to call it gut bucket blues. The Eddy had the real deal.
Everybody talks about Buddy Guy having played there, and he certainly is one of the great, great stars of the blues. One of his partners in music over the years was a harmonica great named Junior Wells, and he was really, that was a huge surprise when he played there.
You're so free, 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 oh.
You can see some great music with a $10 cover. There's a lot of musicians that, they didn't get the right opportunity, chance, or whatever. That could be at Carnegie Hall, and they just don't, and they're playing in clubs.
I saw something that, I'd never, ever seen before. His name was A.C. Reed. And A.C. Reed opened for the Rolling Stones on their first tour of the United States in 1964. But I was sitting in the back of the Eddy listening to this man, and he had like on this like a wrestling belt and a big tenor saxophone. And this man could really sing and he could really play.
Couldn't make no money, so my woman, she put me down.
I have to say that A.C. Reed and my first experience at the King Eddy really solidified my commitment to the blues for a better part of 10 years.
Another turning point in the King Eddy in terms of music and clientele and so on, introduction of Saturday afternoon jam sessions. Musicians were lined up down the street to be able to play with these legendary bands that graced the King Eddy stage.
People would come and start at 2:30 till 6. And when the jam would be started by the headliner that night, would do the jam, then he would go, and then the local jammers would go up and play. And the story was that it was a summer afternoon, and Buddy Guy was there, and he walked out into the crowd, and then he walked out the main door and walked around, and he was playing outside on the street, leaning against the wall on 4th Street there.
For those that really wanted to take the chance and learn from these great musicians that were not from Calgary and have the courage to stand up on stage on a Saturday afternoon and play with them, those lessons will last with you and stay with you for your entire career as a musician.
The bar on a Saturday afternoon, it was the funnest place in town. You know, you'd go there and you'd meet bikers, businessmen, the police chief, Christine Silverberg at the time used to go there. Everybody used to go there and everybody got along.
And there were occasions where you'd see the mayor of Calgary, Ralph Klein, sitting there amongst just all the fans. There were lots and lots of aldermen and politicians and journalists and people who just came there to hang out because they knew it was the hippest thing in town.
Everybody knew the King Eddy as Calgary's home of the blues, but I guess they didn't realize that we did have rooms upstairs.
There was one room that did have a attached washroom and ensuite, and it was room number 1, so we used to joke around and call that the presidential suite. There were also occasions where I got to go up into the presidential suite and sit at the end of the bed and take guitar lessons. So I would take my guitar during the day and show up, and for the price of a submarine sandwich or a flask of whiskey, you could get a guitar lesson from some of these great artists, and I took advantage of that several times.
In the presidential suite, it faced south. They used to open up the window and keep perishables on the windowsill. So like milk and cheese, because in the winter, it was outside and it was cold. So that's what some of the artists did, like little stories like that in the presidential suite, like my fridge is on the other side of that window.
Ooh, sweet surrender.
Men that lived upstairs were old pensioners, people that didn't really have a place to live. We had certain rooms for them and certain rooms for the bands to stay in. When they were lonely, they'd come downstairs and sit, and we were like their friend, their family, their psychiatrist, and their nurse. And some of them just needed a little bit of a break in life, and it was their home. And that's what they called their home.
It had honesty, it had soul, it had a sense of community that you only find when it's real. You know, it has to be authentic.
January 2002, I took over the lease from Jack Karp. I held the lease, the city owned the property, and so I was trying to get the vote to buy it back from the city so that I could put it in the residential rehabilitation assistance program, fix it up, get the things up top, rent it out. So I was trying to buy it from the city to get it, and that's the vote that I lost 8-6 with the council.
It was really getting run down, and the air quality was noticeably bad.
I've seen washrooms in the pit ends of Europe. I've seen washrooms that were built in the 1700s, and the men's washroom at the Eddy was worse than all of that.
And then the quote that I love, I think it was Amos Garrett that said it, but he said it was a mercy killing, that it just had to be shut down, and that the writing had been on the wall for ages.
August the 11th, 2004, at 3:20 p.m. I went into work. My boss, Dave, was sitting in the office. He goes, "They've shut us down." I just started crying. I go, "How much time do we have, Dave?" He says, "We got no time at all." He said, "We're done now."
In a world gone wrong, I'll never find my way.
I really resented that they'd closed down my bar. This is the only bar I'd ever really had in my life. I said to myself, I'm going to save the Eddy. And I had no idea, like, really what that meant or how that would be done. We were the friends of the Eddy. You have never seen a steering committee like this steering committee. Some of these people had never been on a committee before. We had an actual fight, a real fight on the committee, and people shoving each other at one point. We had to make up a rule that we wouldn't meet in bars anymore. And then the next meeting, I was the only one there because nobody would come if it wasn't in a bar. So our next rule was all business had to be completed in the first 45 minutes, and then we do the proper and appropriate bar business.
We leave our hearts behind.
The city was wanting to build an underpass under the railway tracks. Well, the underpass would have taken out the Eddy. And there were powerful people at the city that would be quite happy to have the Eddy taken out because they thought that it was a blight on this dream for East Village. But the city manager loved the blues. He found ways of shifting the underpass a few feet to the east, which allowed the Eddy to remain standing. So he was a hero to a lot of us, and the Eddy is in part standing because of that. This was 100 years after it was built, and so we worked hard to embarrass the city by saying you can't tear down a historic resource, and you certainly can't tear it down on its 100th anniversary. It made, at one level, no sense at all. It was polluted, it was contaminated. This building has absolutely no architectural merit at all. It's one of those ones that, wasn't worth the powder to blow it up. So we realized we needed a white knight. We needed someone that had money that would see the value in doing this.
The National Music Centre set about to do the planning work around the construction of the entire complex. If we're going to do this in Calgary, we need to have a very strong Calgary music story, and that became the quest to anchor the King Eddy in the National Music Centre. I remember walking in there for the first time. I had been in there, obviously, as a live music fan many times. It was as if someone had just locked the door and left. When you're dealing with any kind of heritage space, you have to work with what you have.
Well, it probably wasn't the flood that actually forced the dismantling of it. It was probably just that the foundations were so bad. You could lean up against it and pieces would come out, rocks would come out of the foundation.
When we were going to charge with rebuilding it, we decided to photograph the entire inside. And then I went through it myself with Jesse Moffat, who's our director of collections, and together we said, let's save one of those and save one of those and save one of those. Preserving elements of that King Eddy is, I think, a very important inspirational platform for enabling storytelling to continue about the space that will bring in new artists in all genres of music and new audiences to talk about music. And they can talk about, hey, this place was once a place where Calgary's home of the blues lived and created many memories.
You don't have to be a cathedral to be a historic resource. You can be a cultural centerpiece, or you can be a place where great things happened.
It was a meeting place. It was a school for music. And it's very appropriate that the National Music Centre is going to prolong this legacy.
Welcome to the King Edward Hotel. Oh yeah, it's good to be home. Oh yeah.
It really did establish a tradition of blues music in this city that I think will carry on for generations to come.
It was the working man's hotel when it was built, but as a blues bar, that literally was world famous. It's something to be proud of.
The bar was a gift to the city. It didn't have value in the building. It had value in the heart of it.
I always like to joke about the Eddy. Don't chase the ghost away. Don't chase the authenticity of what the power of music has, and that is to bring people together from different walks of life because of the power of music, because of music. The blues did that for the Eddy, and that special spirit, we're going to reconvene in that space again for all music.
The fact that the Eddy has been elevated from the lowest of the low to the centerpiece of the National Music Center, that is totally Cinderella.
Meet me at the corner of 9th and 4th, under the neon sign. I just look for a good time over here in the bad side of town. Saints and sinners congregate where the blues resound. Everybody looking for a good time while we're here in the bad side of town. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Break it, don't mess around. Feels so right, gotta be wrong. Just looking for a good time over here in the bad side of town. Where, yeah, on the corner 9th and 4th, kiss me under the neon sign. I was looking for a good time over here in the bad side, over on the sad side, right here on the bad side.